Hey, welcome to another episode of Behind the Bar podcast, brought to you by the coaches and clients of RT Fitness Durham, Sunderland, and of course the Barbell Club, where we take you from complete beginner to photo shoot ready. If you need any information at all on our programs, just click the link below. It's going to take you to a call booking system. Book a call in with Sarah. She'll discuss your goals, the program details, and all the pricing options of what we have available to see if we can help you on your journey. So today's episode, we have the beautiful inside and out Jenny Hamilton. She is an active bikini competitor and online coach. She gives a huge insight into the world of doing what she does. It is an athletic sport, the time, the dedication, and all the ins and outs. And for me, to get such an insight of a world which I'm unfamiliar with was so insightful. And what I really liked about this is just the beaming positivity of how Jenny coaches people through the process and obviously sees the light in all of what the competing world can be and should be. It's really good. Please watch this right through to the end because there's some huge nuggets in there, especially when she talks about dieting is actually a privilege. So enjoy the show, share with your friends as well, and make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah? Right then, who is Jenny Hamilton?
Oh God, what a question. Professionally,
Yes.
I'm a coach.
Uh-huh.
I've been working in the fitness industry for over 5 years now. But I'm also a competitor. I don't know even know what to say out of myself apart from what I do as my job. But yeah, I'm a bikini competitor. I'm an online coach.
Right.
I was a personal trainer for a few years as well. And yeah.
How old are you?
That's a good one. I'm 25.
You're 25, okay.
Yeah, I'm from Scotland, living in the northeast now, but got my dog, my boyfriend. That's my little family unit.
Yeah.
My life basically revolves around fitness. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You wrapped that. You said you were going to keep talking. And that
I know,
so
but that's who I am. Who knows?
Yeah.
What I do, different story.
So I know you just very touched on it there. So like, what is it that you do where you said bikini competitor? So what is that?
Yeah, so bikini competitions or bodybuilding in general is so different to like fitness, like we were just talking about. But with bikini competitions or bodybuilding competitions in general, you're trying to find that balance of bringing in a conditioned look with a good amount of muscle. For bikini specifically, it's very subjective. So depending on the different federations or classes you do, they'll favor a different overall look. So maybe some shows they'll want a bigger girl who's a bit more lean. Another show they might want a more petite girl who's maybe not quite as lean. And so trying to find where you fit in with all of the different categories and classes and stuff can be interesting, but it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dieting, but it's so much fun and it's a really good challenge and something that I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did when I first tried it, but yeah, I really love it. So that's like, I find it hard, like I know you were saying before about it's very new for you as well.
Yeah.
What would you say is something that you think you don't understand about it or don't know about it or?
Well, that's my next question.
Is it?
Yeah. So what would be the difference in categories? Because years ago, it was like just bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And then that's Arnie's years. And then as the years have gone on, it's just opened more and more and more and more categories. So what's the difference between, say, your categories? Because where you've just said there with the different federations, you probably fit into different categories in different ones now.
Yeah, 100%. So with I'll talk about female categories.
Yeah, of course.
So with female categories, so I do bikini, which is the smallest. It's not necessarily that small, but the smallest category of them all. So you've got bikini, which is looking for a balanced physique without too much muscle. They want to see some separation, but without being like really, really shredded. Then the next step up, you've got like your figure classes. So with figure, they're looking for that little bit, basically what you have in bikini, but a little bit more in a slightly different shape. So with bikini, there's a big focus on delts and glutes. With figure, you bring a lot more back into it, looking for like a kind of more V taper.
Okay, yeah.
And then above that, you've got women's physique, which is bigger and leaner again, and then women's bodybuilding, bigger and leaner again. You've also got one class kind of in the middle somewhere, which is called wellness, which is very bottom heavy. So that's girls that have got very dominant quads, hamstrings, glutes, with a smaller upper body. And that's a very kind of new class over the last few years. But again, depending on the federations you do, there's a lot of kind of slight changes and differences between each class. So like the season I just did, I did bikini trained, which is like a leaner version of bikini in one show, and then I did a different federation with bikini, and the judges told me I should go do wellness. And then the next time I did normal bikini, and each time I placed either first or second, but completely different criteria, completely different feedback. So it's very subjective, and this is the thing, is it's the same as if you were to do dancing or like synchronized swimming or gymnastics or something. There's somebody judging and scoring you, and it's their opinion. So it's not necessarily that if you were to do the same show or like the same federation but do different shows, if it's a different judging panel, you can get totally different results. So yeah, it's one of those ones that a lot of people, they can get very fixated on that end result of what the judges have told you, but I think you have to kind of dig a bit deeper and make the journey a bit more personal to you to get the most out of it. Because if you just rely on somebody else telling you that, all right, yeah, you look good, all it takes is one person's opinion to sway it off, and then you could feel totally miserable about it all. So yeah, it's a minefield.
100%. Would you say then the top? So which one's what's like say the top one? Is it like the Arnold's? Is it like the
Olympia? So if you're talking about the IFBB or NPC, so that's like where you've got the Olympia, and that's what you've got like Arnold and all of your like Chris Bumstead and all that. That's where all of those guys compete. That's the Olympia, and then the amateur version of that is the NPC. So that's kind of like your main federation in terms of if you want to be at that elite world level, that is where you need to compete.
And but if they're that one organisation, do they judge it solely on like say a specific thing each year then compared to the others where it's subjective?
So they're all going to be subjective, but whoever wins the Olympia, like, you know, that one competition should really set the standard for everything, and it should trickle down through the levels. So
they'll judge it from the year before?
Yeah, kind of, but again, it's still subjective. So for example, I did a show with they're called the NPC. I did a show with them a few weeks ago, and they were the ones that told me, oh, you're too bottom heavy, go do wellness. But
after all the work you've put in as well.
I still won my class, so it wasn't that they didn't like my look, but on a different stage. So for example, if I went to compete in Europe, which a lot of people from the UK do, I actually would probably be one of the smaller girls. And they would probably never tell me to go do wellness. But it's just, the judges just judge you on what they see that day. So because I was on a stage with a few girls that weren't as heavily muscled, I tend to be a more muscular bikini for the UK look. But if you put me in Spain, I would look so small compared to some of those girls who are a lot more heavily muscled. So it's just, it varies country to country, it varies just like day to day, because if you go into a show that's really busy and there's a really high standard, you're going to look different. Whereas if you go into a smaller show where maybe you're one of the bigger girls, you can either stick out for all the right or all the wrong reasons, and it's just, it's a minefield, and it's the luck of the draw. And this is why I always say, if like I've got clients competing or people ask me like, oh, what advice do you have for like show days? Like, it's not that deep. Like, you have to go into it and being like, I'm happy with how I look, and whatever happens, happens, because it's just someone's opinion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're getting judged off someone else.
It's literally judging a book by its cover.
Yeah.
So that's why I always have to say to people, like, it's not that deep, and if you get really wrapped up in that result, you're going to be miserable very quickly. And I've been there. Like, there was definitely a point in my time when I was like, I really want to turn pro, and that's all that matters to me, and like, that's all I want to do. But I was then so fixated on the results that even if I did well, if I didn't do the absolute best and win the whole thing, I was like gutted. And then I was like, oh, that's not what it's about. And you're going to lose more times than you win, right?
Yeah.
So you need to change how you go into the shows sometimes, rather than trying to change yourself to always win. You have to think about, okay, what's my mindset going into it instead?
Because it seems as though there's like, no matter what, you've chose the category and you're like, fuck it, I'm just going in for that category and doing it.
I think, yeah, you kind of have to. I mean, you'll know where you naturally fall, and like you can take feedback is very subjective as well. So, you know, I can take that feedback on board, and if I wanted to go and do wellness, I maybe could, but I could turn up, and if a girl who's truly lower body dominant and has much more muscle than me turns up and I did that different category, she would probably still win. Do you know what I mean? So like I say, it's very dependent on the day and the judges, and even things like posing. If I just pose a little bit differently, which I've looked at when you see your stage photos, I'm like, all right, okay, if I can tweak that bit of my posing, my upper and lower will look more balanced. So there's loads of little things. Yeah, there's so many levels to it all that it sounds like something so simple, like, oh, lose a bit of weight, get on stage. But there's so many little details that go into it that make it more complex. And I think that's what keeps it so interesting. I always say it's like a balance of science and art, of like the science of bringing your body into being lean, but the art of making the overall look exactly how you want it. Which is why I really like it. I feel like it has a really good balance of, you've got a creative ability within it, but you also have to have that scientific facts, numbers, you know, grams of carbs, water loading, all those things. So there's just so many elements to it, which keeps it super fun and exciting.
Super fun and exciting. It's so much, like, I fully appreciate it, because it is, people don't understand the work, what goes into it. And there is so much goes into it. I think I've said it before, where some people have said they wanted to compete. It's like, you're going to put your life on, all you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you might win a 10 quid trophy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like literally, I've invested thousands at this point, and done, like, there's been some shows. So I competed at the UK Arnold's 2021, and it cost me a couple of thousand by the time I'd paid for accommodation for the weekend, the ticket to the Arnold Expo, you know, like the tan, all the rest of it. All the training, all the coaching.
And then I came third, and like you have, and like it costs a lot to enter as well, and so like you total up all those things, and it's like you have to be okay with going in, and like some girls will have spent the exact same amount of money and not come away with nothing, like no medal, no nothing. And so you have to be really okay with making that investment first, knowing that you're not always going to get that return of the validation of a trophy or anything like that. So it's about making sure the journey is what, like, personal for you, and you have to decide it's a success or a win before you go. Which again, I wasn't in that mindset at that time, and I remember feeling really annoyed about the investment and I could have done more, I should have done more, but sometimes you can't. You just have to enjoy it for what it is.
Wow. So this is probably like, because we train a lot of people, weightlifting specific as well, and we get them shredded as well. And generally when they come out of like the shred phase after the diet and phase after they've done the photo shoot, what does your food nutrition training look like off season?
Right, so
like calories wise as well, because when we're telling people to go to it, even to 2,000 plus, they're like, how much? So
so do you know what, until this year, where I've actually managed the post-show period very well, I've never done it very successfully. I have always been that person to go and overeat, gain quite a lot of fat rapidly, and then put myself in not a great position. So then the next time I've got to start prep, I then have a whole bunch of weight to lose. So my goal this year was to not do that, which has been successful so far. So when I'm prepping, my food does go very low and my cardio does go very high. Like my body, I tend to gain muscle quite easily. I'm probably more gifted in that respect, but being lean, it ain't for me. My body hates it. So it's a lot of hard work to get there. But post-show, I wanted to make sure that I kind of came out of it relatively well. So I had a day or two of just eat whatever I liked and feeling mentally relaxed without trying to overeat. And then I got back onto my prep diet for a few days just to allow my body to settle, because especially with my prep diet, there's a lot of removing of things. So there's a lot of removing of certain foods and stuff, and my digestion just takes a bit of a hit. So I went back to my normal diet, and then my boyfriend coaches me. So we decided we'd cut cardio back by 20 minutes. So I was just doing 40 minutes a day. And then we went straight up to around 2,000 calories.
So is this the week after?
And
obviously,
then
obviously pig out weekend, and then a few days of your diet from the week before.
The thing is, it's always going to be different. I've tried to do it really slowly, where I've gone from maybe say like 1,000 calories to like 1,300, 1,000, but mentally that's just so difficult because you're starving and you're like, my goal's not there anymore. So I tend to find having a bigger jump up in calories initially just helps me better. I feel satiated, I've got a bit more variety of food, and it makes you feel more energized. And you're still hungry. Don't get me wrong, there's always going to be loads of hunger cravings, but I like that slightly bigger increase, and more of the same foods as well. So like, rather than like, all right, I'm going to have burgers all the time and stuff, I'm like, I just want more oats and more rice cakes and stuff, which sounds crazy, but I enjoy it and I know it digests well and it makes me feel good. So I've gone up to about 2,000 calories, and then we're just tapering cardio down because I find that affects my training most.
Right, okay.
But it's really hard to kind of give an exact, because we just respond to what we see. Like, and I know you'll do this as well, whereas it's some weeks my weight might fluctuate up a little bit and be like, right, we're not going to pull back at all. We're just going to wait and see what happens. And I'm like, right, okay, we can continue to increase food the week after because we come back down. And I've never had a post-diet phase the same. It's always different. So, but I would say if you're scared of increasing the calories, don't be, because once you start feeling more energized again and feeling good in the gym again, you're like, oh yeah, this is good. So when you say cardio there, are you just talking steps or something like that? So steps independent from cardio. So on my prep, will do fasted cardio in the morning. So this last prep, the most I ever got to was just 60 minutes fasted in the morning. Right. And then I also had 15,000 steps on top of that. So I keep those independent. So the Fitbit comes off when I'm doing the cardio, just so that I can make sure they're individual. Right. But tend to like to control both of those separately, just so that we've got, because obviously steps can be as intense or as relaxed as you like, whereas like cardio, I'm like going for it.
Like what kind of cardio?
So I use incline treadmill just because I find I can get a really good high heart rate and a good sweat on without it impacting my training too much. No, just power walk.
Just power walking, right?
Running I find would hurt my joints and I wouldn't be able to recover. I find the Stairmaster very difficult. I have quite dominant quads, so if I do the bike, it just blows my quads up and kind of throws my proportions off. So that's another thing, coming back to the criteria thing. So we've got to take that into consideration. And then the cross trainer as well, I find quite hard on my joints sometimes too. So I find that trial and error, the incline treadmill's been best for me, but again, everyone has their own thing that they'll probably enjoy more or get the most out of. And I've also got a treadmill at home, so it's just dead easy to wake up.
So your cardio is just walking, basically, isn't it?
Very fast walking.
Very fast walking,
If you see me doing it, like, so I used to do my cardio in the gym in the morning, and the guy that cleaned the gym, he was like, I have never seen anyone with such little legs walk so fast. So it is intense, even though it might just be a walk. By the end of it, I'm dying, I'm covered in sweat. It is still, I'm probably burning just as much as I would jogging, but it's just a little bit more gentle on my joints.
So are you doing, off season, are you still hitting the 15,000 steps and the cardio?
So we'll taper it down. Ideally, so I'm an online coach, so it's basically an office job. So having 15,000 steps sounds great, but sometimes it's quite hard to fit in my day. So what we'll do from here is just taper it down gently. So like I said, the end of my prep, I was doing an hour of cardio in the morning and 15,000 steps. I'm now about 3 weeks since my last show, and I'm doing 30 minutes of cardio in the morning and 12,000 steps. So over the last 2 weeks, we've just gradually pulled those back. I had my check-in this morning, and we've kept those the same for this week coming. And ideally, kind of take it down to maybe 1 or 2 cardio sessions a week, just for overall fitness. And then I like to keep my steps about 10,000, because I like to be able to do some, but I find that anything above 10,000, it just eats into my work day a little bit. So
And what's your calories like now?
So I don't like to know.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
This is another thing, is that I find mentally, so I use a meal plan.
Right, okay.
I'm a coach, so I have a rough idea. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know how much is in certain things, but...
You could look at something and know.
Yeah, and I could very easily work it out exactly, but I think ignorance is bliss when you're dieting, when you're reverse dieting, because it is so easy to be caught up on like, oh my God, I'm only on 1,000 calories. This is really hard. But I would say at the moment, I'm probably on around 2,000 calories a day.
Right, okay.
But like I say, I like that big jump
And what's
up.
your body weight?
So I was 54 this morning.
Yeah, so that's, because what we find with the battle with our clients, isn't it? This is where I'll bring Sarah in. Because it's a battle with our clients, trying to get them back to, say, there. And they're generally heavier as well.
Yeah.
Like, I can't eat all that. And it's a pain in the arse sometimes, isn't it?
Your body needs that fuel. Like if you want to go and
yeah.
perform, and if you want to keep, like say you've built that muscle and you're looking really good, there's only so long you can stay at that peak look. Yeah. And I think a lot of people as well, they're getting into like trying to change their body, or they're maybe looking at people who are competing and stuff, and they see that show day look or that photo shoot look, and they're like, oh yeah, that's what I want. It's like those people don't look like that 24/7. No. And so you have like by the end, so for example, on a show day, we drink no water and eat very little to keep the waist small and keep everything looking as dry as possible. If I have a normal day of eating, by the time I've got to 4 or 5 o'clock, I've got a whole day's worth of food of me, like 4 litres of water in. I don't look like I would on stage.
Of course, yeah.
And so I think making sure people know about that is that you got to eat, you got to fuel. Yeah. And if you ever want to peak your look, then it takes a lot more going into it.
Well, plus they're wanting to add mass.
Yeah, if you want to grow, you got to eat.
Yeah, well, it is. You got to, if you want that, and they're coming out of it, and obviously they want to get back to how they were training, because those last few weeks when you've been in such a deficit, there's no energy there.
And I mean, I don't think my food will probably get higher than 2,000. I think probably the highest I've ever gone is about 3,000-ish calories. Right. But again, my body, like it just depends. I've had clients who are bikini competitors who have been eating like nearly 4,000 calories a day. And I'm going, oh my goodness, where are you putting all this food? And I'm like, I could only dream of that because my body just doesn't respond in that way. Yeah. However, like I say, I gain muscle fairly easily. And so I can see physical changes without having to do that, but everyone's so different and everyone's so individual when it comes to that. But not being afraid to eat, I think especially with females, can be quite a battle of like, no, you need to fuel your workouts, and that if you want to see the toned muscle coming through, you need to actually grow and actually eat.
Yes, and I think because because a lot of our clients here, they've never been in that shape, and we do get them down to that shape, and sort of they don't want to lose it, but it's like, you're not.
Yeah, 100%. You see it all the time with bikini competitors as well. If they're coming away from that first show of being like, all right, okay, I've done my first season, and I'm scared to gain body fat. And you have to kind of explain that with that little bit of extra body fat is going to come energy, it's going to come performance, it's going to come new muscle, and like you need that bit of body fat so that you can look better the next time you maybe want to come down, or even just to maintain it from a lifestyle perspective. That extra bit of food will make you a nicer person to be around. It will make your sleep better. It'll give you more energy. It'll mean that you can perform in the gym well and have all those positive benefits that come with maybe an extra kilo, So there's not much weight in between you being exhausted and tired and feeling amazing.
Excellent, thank you for that. So I took a quote from one of your Instagram posts, but then I couldn't find the post again.
What have I posted now?
Oh, no, because it's something it's a quote what we use all the time for clients as well. So no, don't worry.
I was like, oh no, what have I said?
No, it was something along the lines of however long you think you have to lose weight, double it.
Yeah. I get this all the time with people coming to me and being like, oh, I've got 8 weeks till my holiday. And I'm like, right, okay. And they were like, yeah, but I don't want to give up my social life and I don't want to do that. And I'm like, right. Even if you've got 8 weeks and you go all in, you're probably not going to look as different as you think you're going to look as if you gave yourself 16 weeks. And this is so when this year I did a different approach to my own prep, and I started it without knowing exactly when it was going to end. And I'd originally thought, I think I'll be ready for April, and I wasn't. And so I extended it, and I ended up dieting for 20 weeks before I even got on a stage. But I had 15 kilos to lose because, like I said before, I've not always done the post-show bit the best. Right. And I'd gained a bit too much weight, and I wasn't in a very good position to necessarily start a really short, sharp diet. So I did 20 weeks of dieting before getting on stage, and it paid off because I looked my best. But if I tried to do it in 10 or 12 or even 16, it wouldn't have been the same look. I would have maybe had to sacrifice muscle to really pull off all that weight. And so I think that if you have the option to give yourself just those few more weeks, it's always worth it.
Yeah. It is, because like, so we, for like our shred, it's generally 12 weeks, but it's like a maximum of 30 pounds away type thing.
Yeah.
And people do what, like, say it was, sometimes people are 50, 60 pounds like away from it, and like, can I do the next one? And it's like, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
You've got to go away and get to X before you even think about
yeah, definitely. Like, I think as well, people sometimes don't realize how much there is to lose. Like, I remember saying to so I do some like bikini posing on one of my posing clients, and I was saying, I've probably got about 15 kilos to come off. And she was like, oh my goodness, if you have that to lose, what do I have to lose? And I was like, well, until you've done it, you don't know. And so you need to just be aware that it depends how you hold your body fat as well. As like some girls might think, well, I've still got a bit of ab, so I don't have that much to lose. But if you're storing body fat in your legs or your arms or anything, like for a long time I was in the gym and my upper body leans out first, and people were like, you must be competing soon. And I was like, well, I was keeping it quiet, I was keeping it secret anyway, but I was like, you've not seen my legs. Like, there's a lot of body fat down there that still needs to come off to get me to that level of lean. And so everyone stores body fat differently, and it's just, you would be surprised at how much. And I think like when you've worked in the fitness industry a long time, you will often see it in people. Like, I can probably guess how many kilos somebody has to lose to get into good shape. And normally it's a good few more kilos than they think they need to lose. And it's sometimes very difficult to have that conversation, especially with females, and them not take it to heart and be like, I know you think you're maybe 10 kilos away from the physique that you want, but add another 5 and add another few weeks to how long you think it's going to take, because it's just so hard to tell. And I think especially if you've never pushed your body in that direction before, you will be very surprised that even dropping 5 kilos sometimes looks like you've barely scratched the surface.
Especially if you're smaller, because it takes longer as well. And you probably might have 10, 15 kilos like you did, but they might think 5, and it's like, there's not much.
Like sometimes I think I'd pulled off 10 and I was going, oh my God, like there is still so much to come off. And I was thinking, because I remember thinking like, I'm definitely going to be a bit heavier on stage. And I was, but I wasn't kilos and kilos heavier. I think I was 1 kilo heavier this year. After a whole year of growing, I was 1 kilo up from the year, like previous years. But I'd pushed up too far. And so I had all of that to kind of pull off. And I was thinking, I'm going to be like 55 kilos on stage, but I ended up being 51. You know what I mean? So there's an extra 4 kilos there that I was like, okay. And my boyfriend, who coaches me, was kind of quietly saying, I think you're going to be a bit lighter than you think, because you can always spot it in other people. And so making sure that you don't get fixated on what you weigh and just go by how you look and how you feel. And it's a minefield, isn't it? And like I say, dealing with females can be a bit touchy sometimes, can't it? Nobody likes to be told they've got more weight to lose.
I mean, I've had the conversation a lot this year with people, and it's like, no, you've actually got 50 pounds. But I'm getting quite good at doing it now.
There's definitely a way to do it.
I'm getting quite good, but it's still like, so I say to some people, right, you've got 50 pounds to lose, okay, so go away, lose another 20, come back. And they wanted to do, say, the shred. But then when it comes to the next one, have you lost that 20 pounds? No. So even if they would have done well on it, but they still wouldn't have been to where they wanted to be. So it's hard to get them to get focused before that. Because then it's 20 weeks, isn't it?
You've got to, I also call it prep for prep, or prep for your diet. Like if your body's not in a position to do that extreme bit of dieting, you're not going to get the response you want from it. And so it's really important to have that bit before the really hard diet of being consistent, of maybe letting your body drop off naturally a bit more weight and stuff, so that you can actually get to how you want to look, because otherwise you're in for a long haul. And I've done that before, where I've not been ready and I've not been in a good position, and I've dieted anyway, and my body's like screaming at me the whole way. I'm not dropping any weight, and I'm just going, no, I'm doing it. And before you know it, like I've been on like nearly 2 hours of cardio, like nothing but fish or egg whites for like weeks. And I'm like, my body's still not responding, but I'm stubborn. So I just like keep going. But now I've made that mistake on myself and I acknowledge it and I put my hands up. And
everybody does it.
Yeah.
Everybody will do it. Like even if the typical person walking in the gym, they'll crash diet, you go back over. Professionals will do it. Maybe he's not him, he's a freak. But but yeah, they do. Everybody does that.
Yeah, everyone's made that mistake.
So how long does the contest prep take? The nutrition and obviously the tapering down the calories sort of look like?
So it depends, again, really on the individual. Like I said, I'm somebody whose body can be quite stubborn. So I always take a longer prep. So I think the shortest one I ever did was my first ever one, which was 12 weeks. But went very aggressive with that. And I probably didn't have as much body fat as I've had to lose in other years. Every other prep has been 20 weeks or above, but I know people who can prep in 12 weeks easily, or 10 weeks if they don't have a lot to lose, or 16 weeks. So it's very individual. For me, I take 20 because I would rather come down a bit slower, make sure I can have like some refeeds or higher days and give my body the break if it needs it, rather than being like, no, we've got to like go and like balls to the wall, must diet every single day. And so it's always better to have that little bit of time to pull back if you need to. And again, it depends on your start point. So my calories tend to just taper down fairly gradually, but this year we took a bit of a different approach. Like I said, I had quite a bit of fat to lose. So we did 4 weeks of a very big calorie drop. I don't know what it was, but it was quite a lot. And we went in with straight away like half an hour of cardio every day, where normally we'd taper it up a bit more. So we did that for 4 weeks, and then we would put food back up. And then that actually worked really well for me this time, just to get my body responding. But most of the time, what I've normally done is just taper down really slowly and, pull 100 calories a day here, and then the next week pull 100 calories and gradually do that. But again, you always respond to what you see, rather than it being like, oh, right, so this is a contest prep and you must do it in this formula and this is what will work. Everybody's going to respond differently, and you kind of have to, because you're trying to get an exact kind of look of lean but muscular and then full, and everyone is going to look so different, you need to really just take it as it comes. So it's really hard to explain to somebody coming into it for the first time or anything. And they're like, all right, what's my prep going to look like? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, until I see how your body responds to me, I've got no clue. So kind of going into the unknown in your first kind of year can be interesting. But if you were coming into it the first time, always take more time than you need.
Who's ever going to do that though?
I know, but it's the thing is like some people will be like, oh no, I want to be dieting as little time as possible. And it's like, that's great. But if you get ill, or if something happens out of your control, or something happens in that window, you've lost a week. So having a few more weeks than you need, and then if you've got more time at the end to have some refeeds, rest your body a little bit, drop off some fatigue, that's great. And if not, if you have something happen or if your body doesn't respond the way you want it to, you've given yourself that more time. So yeah, it's
a long time, 20 weeks.
It is.
I think for some, like obviously you're really into it, but it's I think for say for people to wrap their heads around 20 weeks of trying to tell Doris to diet it's a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is, absolutely. It just depends on what you're trying to achieve. I think especially when you're trying to achieve levels of leanness that your body cannot maintain, and that is something that your body does not want to do. Yeah. You need that time. And the thing is like I said, because you don't know how everyone's going to respond, you having those extra weeks is helpful. Like I say, if you've got somebody who responds really well, you would be like, okay, we don't need 20 weeks. And I've done a few of my girls, if I've worked with them quite a while before their prep starts, I'll be like, yeah, your body is not going to need 20 weeks. Let's do 16, okay? Right. And then that gives us a few weeks if anything happens, but we can like make that work. And it's so individual. It's just everyone has those parts like of themselves that will naturally help them within bodybuilding or physique, like changing their physique. So like I say, I build muscle fairly easily, which some girls be like, oh, I just can't build muscle, it's so hard. But they might sit really lean and be able to eat a lot of calories year round that I just can't do. So I know, I'm like, do you want to swap? So yeah, everyone has strengths and weaknesses within their natural genetic capabilities. Yeah. So it's just playing to that. And like I say, it's trial and error and finding what works for you. And although 20 weeks sounds like a long time, the first few weeks of that diet are not always that hard. Like I'm still eating like a big bowl of cereal post-workout probably, and it's...
You're in the excited phase because you've started that journey, so you're quite into it.
I think as well, like it depends on how aggressively you diet and stuff as well. And if you're including foods that you enjoy, and like it is my lifestyle now, so I guess I don't even really think about it. I live with my partner, he does it kind of too, so it doesn't seem like that big of a change. It's just like, all right, okay, if I go out for a meal with my family, I'll just take my own or eat before or whatever. It's just those are the small things. It's not until the last few weeks that you're like, oh, I'm exhausted and I've got an hour of cardio every day and all the rest of it. That's probably not even half the prep that feels like that. So the first 10 weeks, I kind of, as much as it's dieting and it's prep, it's not going to feel like the hard end or the business end of prep, I think is what people call it.
The business end.
The business end.
Okay. Brilliant. So why do you do this?
I really love a challenge.
Right.
And I think it's really interesting to prove to yourself what you're capable of. And I think people surprise them. And I love seeing it in my clients or in myself where like you genuinely surprise yourself when you're like, damn, I did that. Like that's, I didn't think I could. And that's how I explain getting through the hard days of dieting to people where they're like, oh, I'm really struggling today and I'm so hungry and I just want to go and eat whatever. And I'm like, look, if you can get through today and just really push, you're going to be able to put your head on that pillow tonight and be like, damn, I did that. Like that was hard and I did it. And then you're like, well, if I can do that, what else can I do? And it's what you learn through pushing yourself with diet and training, I think it translates into so many areas of your life, like building your self-confidence, realizing how hard you can work or how much you can challenge yourself and push yourself and still be okay at the end of it and then be like, wow, I'm actually just so capable. And as somebody, like when I was younger, I didn't have that self-belief. I didn't really believe I was capable. And so having this thing in my life that constantly shows me like, no, you are capable and you can do so much more than you think. It's a really good constant reminder of, no, actually, if you want something, you can do it. It might be hard work, but you're capable of doing that.
Mad.
So
like your mindset must be so strong. I mean, you probably don't realise it yourself.
It hasn't always been, and I think that's something that's definitely, competing has taught me so much, and I'm so grateful for the times when my mindset has been bad, because now that it's better again, it has, like I said, I was kind of touched on earlier, that I had this period of time where I was really focused on just winning, and if I wasn't winning, I was failing, and that was the same time I was talking about that prep where my body wasn't responding, but I just kept going and I kept going, and I was so stubborn. And I got to the point after that prep where I thought, I'm never going to do this again. It's becoming this negative thing in my life. It doesn't feel right. I'm not enjoying it. And so this year, this prep for me was really about like, right, I didn't tell anyone about it. I kept it a secret because I was like, I want to do this for me again. And I want to have that feeling of like, just feeling that accomplishment of knowing that no matter what happens when I stand on stage, that I've enjoyed this and that I've done this for me and that nobody can tell me if I've succeeded or not. Like I decide if it's a success. And then I did that, and it actually turned into my most successful in terms of placing season yet. And I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that I wasn't pressuring myself to just focus on that one thing. And I was so focused on making it positive that it made everything so much better and more enjoyable. And I think that the period of having it be something that wasn't positive in my life has allowed me to get to this point where I'm like, wow, it can be positive as long as you're coming at it from the right angle. And so that's a big thing that I'm always trying to stress to either the girls I work with, and it's something I'm looking to try and change. I've just started doing, I've got our first one next month with she was a client, she's now like one of my friends, well, she's still my client, but she's like one of my best mates now, and we are starting these seminars all aimed at like females and competing and making the process positive, which is something that a lot, like it's kind of new.
Next question here.
Oh, I bet. Oh, well, there we go. Here we go, little plug. So yeah, we're calling it flow into prep, and we're going to do ones about off season and the other side of preps as well. But because I've had those negative prep experiences and then positive ones, and I can notice the trends and changes in my mindset, I really want to make sure that people coming into that industry have those positive experiences too. And I feel like the trophies and things at the end of the day, like you say, it's like a £10 trophy. Like it doesn't determine your worth, but how you come into that prep and how you carry yourself throughout it will either mean you will look back on it and be like, that was so cool, or oh my God, I can't believe I wasted my time doing that. And so having that is just like, I'm really excited about that part, and it's something so new, and I love a bit of mindset. I love a bit of talking about all that kind of stuff. And I mean, if anyone has ever followed me for a while or anything, like most of my content is about that. And I just, that's the side of this that I love, is the mindset behind it all, and making sure that other people have positive experiences and that they maybe learn from my mistakes, or if I can help even just one person have a more positive experience, like that's a success in my book for sure. Yeah,
because it's normally a drain, isn't it, for some people? But if you're switching it right on its head, but the question was going to be, you're a coach yourself, so who do you help, and what's your services?
So I mean, I'm a coach. I work with a whole variety of people. So I work only with women, just simply because I find that like we will gel a lot more, and my partner coaches guys, and so quite often we'll have like couples. I mean, it's maybe the same with yourself. So like you just find sometimes genders will gel better with themselves, and guys sometimes don't want to tell me when they're struggling. So I work exclusively with the females, but I coach people from like lifestyle, like macro tracking, general, just trying to feel better about themselves, all the way to bikini athletes and competitors, and I do photo shoot preps. Like I do a variety of things, and I try and tailor all my online services to be exactly what that person needs. And I haven't always been the best at that. I used to do a lot of like transformation stuff as well, which was all good. But I now have just found that like a lot of my clients, they'll stay with me for a long time, and that obviously like there's only so long you can do a 12-week shred type diet for. And so beyond that, you need that kind of, okay, here's how we can help you live your life long term. And I'm really looking to expand the mindset side of my business. So like being able to help people with how they feel day to day, as well as how they look and how they perform in the gym is a really big one for me. But and I also do posing coaching as well. Like I said, I mean, I like doing a bit of everything. I think it keeps really interesting for me.
But it's everything under the same umbrella.
Exactly. But I like being able to, if I've got a check-in day, I've got, 3 girls that are macro tracking, and their wins for their week are, that I tracked this meal out with my family and had a really good time, or, I went on this weekend away and I didn't think about food at all. I was just so focused on being in the moment. Like, that's really cool. But then I've also got someone else check in the same day that's like, nailed on my cardio, nailed on my steps, or, oh God, I'm struggling with these like really hard 0 carb days, what can I do? And I can help them. And it's all that variety of people all working under the same umbrella, but for such different goals and different perspectives. And also as well, sometimes you'll have the people that are doing those hard diets and then helping them come away from that and into trying to find, okay, what else is there to life, getting more energy, like you say, putting the calories up, making them be like, I'm
giving them goals after that, because that's when they lose it, isn't it?
Exactly. And your life doesn't have to be constantly working towards the next fat loss. Like you can enjoy now while you're trying to build that muscle or live your life a little bit more, or if you want to find that bit more freedom within food, that you can still work with somebody towards that goal and feel good about it. It doesn't have to be that, if I'm not trying to get shredded from a holiday, I should just stop my coaching and then just eat whatever and then feel bad about myself and sign up with the coach again in 6 months. It's like, and I've seen people do that cycle, and I'm trying so hard. Like a lot of my girls that have come back to me recently, they're like, this is so good to have this side of your coaching now as well. So I have a lot of clients that will come back and they'll be like, you've improved that side of your coaching so much, and this is great, and I can stick to this long term. And I'm like, the fact that I'm learning and improving that means a lot to me. So like I always put my hand up and be like, I don't always know everything, and sometimes it won't always be the right approach, but as long as I'm always trying to get better and continually improving where I can, then I'm happy, and as long as my girls are happy, that's good with me. So
what's the end goal with it all?
I honestly, my end goal changes, and this is the thing, is that I think I kind of have these little reviews with myself quite often, because like I said, a couple of years ago, if you'd asked me like, oh, what's your end goal? I'd be like, I want to compete at the Olympia. I want to be a bikini pro. Like that's the end goal, and I want to have just coaching bikini competitors, and I want to be all in on the bodybuilding. Whereas actually now that's definitely changed, and I've kind of had to reassess and be like, well, actually there's what my value now in life doesn't necessarily align with that goal anymore. And so I want to compete when it feels right for me. Okay. I want to enjoy every time I prep and enjoy all my stage experiences and do what I want to do with it. I want to have a coaching business and a business in general that makes me feel fulfilled and happy and enjoy what I do every day. And it's not so much about that end goal, but as in, I would just want to make sure that the process of doing it all is something that every day I have something that I'm like, yes, that made me really happy today, rather than it being like, oh, I'll be happy when I get here, because I've lived my life like that, and it doesn't matter how close you get to there, as if you've not got it yet, you'll feel unhappy or unfulfilled. I'm really big on gratitude. I'm really big on focusing on controlling what you can control and living in the moment and finding what there is to be happy about now. And I think that my end goal is to make sure that there's, at the end of every day, I can list several things that have happened that day that I'm happy about now, whether or not they take me towards my end goal or if it's just taking the dog for a nice walk. Do you know what I mean? Like,
of course.
It's that's the, I know, I feel like I've just gone on a total tangent. The question you've asked.
It was just, what's the end goal? You still on track?
No, right, okay, we're good. But yeah, no, I just, my end goal changes. Like 1 minute I'll be like, oh yeah, I think I do want to maybe pursue that. And then I'll like have to reevaluate myself, be like, is it though? And so at the moment, my end goal with competing is to have fun. End goal with my coaching business is to get something that supports my life in a way that can always be managed, and just to create what I want to. Like I said, like I'm leaning into the mindset side of things more. I'm big on like internal nudges and intuition, and if something makes me feel good, I'll just be like, right, I'll lean into that more, I'll do more of it. So at the moment I'm doing like a meditation course and stuff like that. I'm starting my seminars, which have gone down like really well. So I'm really excited for those to start and see if that picks up. So at the moment, the end goal is just to lean into that side of things more and see where that takes me. But yeah, just have fun doing it, I guess.
From all of that, I think you're following what every coach says to everybody: enjoy the process. I think, and you're following that big bit of advice.
It's so much easier said than done, though. It's like, and when I was in that kind of more negative mindset, to the point where I was like, I actually was like looking at 9-to-5 office jobs and everything. I was like, I sickened myself of almost like the industry. I lost all my passion for it by focusing on the end goal, to the point where I'm now like, I appreciate so much that the enjoying the process part. And if you'd asked me though at the time where I was like getting to that point of complete burnout, I'd be like, yeah, I love this. This is my life. I love it. But I think I was trying to convince myself I loved it, even though I wasn't really focusing on loving it. Does that make sense? Like, I was so focused on that end goal that I was kind of miserable day to day, but the thought of having the end goal was making it worth it, but I wasn't actually enjoying it all that much. It was just the thought of the end goal made me happy, rather than actually the things I was doing day to day making me happy. And that is where I was like, I got to that point where I was like, I'm so burnt out that like, maybe I can't do this anymore. Maybe I don't want to compete. And then I had it in my head, like, all right, if I don't compete, no one's going to want to be coached by me. So I'm going to have to find a different job, or, you know, even just talking about diet and training was like draining me. And I was like, and it was just crazy to ever get to that point. And now that I got to that point of like rock bottom, I guess, and then built myself back up, it's really changed how I view like my own journey and everyone else's journey. And it's just never talked about. You see people in fitness and they're like, oh yeah, every day is great and I love it. And it's like, it's not. Like, some days will suck and some days, and you might reach those points, but I think it's what you learn from those rock bottom points that will either push you forward or will send you like way back.
Brilliant. We've got two left.
Yeah, that's fine.
The last one's just where do we find you? So that one's an easy one.
Right, okay.
So this one, I always like end up with like if you give anyone like a piece of advice to live a leaner, healthier lifestyle. But I think I'd rather a bit of advice from, say, somebody wanting to go on such a strict regime. What would be your advice on the mindset side of if they should do it, how they should do it type thing, and how did they get the mind around actually going for it for, say, 12 to 20 weeks?
So if you are thinking, I want to try and do like, like that really strict, a photo shoot prep, a shred, something like that. Why? And that's my first question to everybody, is why do you want to do it? Because if it's just because you're like, I want to be shredded, it's not necessarily going to be the right thing for you. And I see it quite often with girls who are like, I want to compete because I want to win and I want to wear the sparkly bikini, or I want to, I want to look like, why do you want to do it? I want to look like X, Y, Z. And it's like, right, you need to find that deeper purpose, because I'm telling you now that on the hard days, just trying to, the thought of, I just want to look like this person ain't going to get you through. So you need to find that deeper reasoning as to why you want to do it. Is it to see what you are capable of? Is it because you need that, like you're trying to build your confidence and you want to push yourself outside your comfort zone? Is it because you've been training for like 5 years and you're like, I kind of want a higher purpose to this so that I can keep my motivation up? That's a really good one. I see quite a few people coming to me that are like, been in the gym for several years, and I've always been training hard, but I feel like, what am I working towards? And I just want that higher purpose. I'm like, cool, that's great. But just the first thing you need to do is be like, why? Why do you want to do that? Because there's a lot of reasons that are probably not the right reasons to do it. And if it's not the right reason behind you wanting to diet, you're going to struggle at some point. The second I would say is just to be like communicating with whoever's trying to help you, and remembering that if you're going to choose to diet to an extreme, that there's a reason why not a lot of people can do it. And that it's a choice. Like there's a little saying in like the bodybuilding community, like prep is a privilege, but I think it's dieting is a privilege. And overall, like there are people in this world that go hungry without the choice of being hungry. And so if you are going to choose to put yourself in a calorie deficit and be hungry because you have the luxury of having that choice, embrace that choice and be like, okay, this is temporary for me. I'm controlling it. I'm choosing it. And if you're choosing it and it's genuinely making you miserable, you are the person that has the power to change that choice if it genuinely doesn't make you happy. But if you are choosing it, try and find some way of making it that positive. And even if it's, like I said earlier, if it's you're choosing it and it's a hard day and you're struggling, try and focus on that point of, okay, if I can make it to the end of this day, I'll have achieved something I've never done before and push myself to new limits, and that will benefit me later on because I'll know that I'm capable. And like just trying to find something to make it that bit more positive, because if you are feeling negative throughout the entire thing, you are going to look back at that 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, and you're going to be like, wow, that wasn't worth it. Whereas if you go back, if you can look back on it and be like, I learned this about myself, I achieved something that was amazing, and I feel so grateful for that process, then you will look back on it and be like, yeah, that was really cool, I did that. So yeah, making sure that if you're going to do it, you do it for the right reasons, and that when you're in it and it gets hard, that you have that ability to really focus on the fact that you're choosing that.
Brilliant. I'm definitely stealing the it's a privilege to diet one.
There you go. It's not my quote, I can't take credit.
Absolute brilliant. So where do people find you?
So I'm basically just Instagram. So my Instagram is Jenny Hamilton Coach. Yeah. One word. I do have a YouTube channel as well. I can't actually remember the name of it at the moment, which is linked. I post semi-regularly.
2 months ago, the last one.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what? I have clips edited, but because I've been in prep and coming out of prep, it's always a bit of a whirlwind. A lot of traveling going on in the last month. So yeah, there will be another one going up soon. But yeah, Instagram mainly, YouTube occasionally. And occasionally on the odd podcast. So, so yeah, that's where you can find me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.